Hello, good morning.
Happy Monday. Let's start the week together. I feel like last week was so exhausting.
Yeah.
Like we were both birthdayed out. Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a good weekend.
Good.
The celebration's wrapping up now. Shout out to our morning team here. They got us a cake.
So if you follow us on Instagram, you can follow me at Drench TV. Plug your Insta.
Taylor.eps.
Thank you.
You're not following already.
Well, so I knew it was like Taylor Epps, but I wasn't sure where the dot or an underscore or whatever it was. Yeah, okay. So follow us on Instagram because there's a picture that's up there right now, and it's hysterical. I am dying of laughter. Taylor is poised and under control. It was...
Close.
We're holding up the cake that the morning show got us, which was very kind, very generous. And I'm like, oh, Taylor, don't drop it. And as I said, don't drop it, I almost dropped it.
Slips down. We're like, trying to take the picture, which
funny.
is just so, it just makes so much sense. Happy birthday, Lorianne. Her birthday was yesterday.
Happy birthday, and Taurus baby.
Taurus times. Yeah, happy to celebrate. It's also just a beautiful time of the year. We both went to the Cherry Blossom Festival near Delaware Park yesterday. And it's just one of those days where you're like, oh, things are blooming and the grass is growing and you can just hear birds chirping and there are butterflies. And you're like, you know what? New life.
Everything is good. I will say that a couple of things. Number one, I went to the grocery store over the weekend, and when I was walking out to go to my car yesterday morning, I noticed that it was covered in pollen.
Oh, we're at that point.
Yeah. Beautiful time of year. I mean, everything is budding and everything's blooming, but and you look outside and there's like this beautiful green twinge, like a tint of green to everything. Like it's beautiful outside, right? Like I love this time of year because it's not fully blooming. The leaves aren't there yet, but you just see the green. Mm-hmm. I love that.
The little buds. I was driving down Bidwell to pick my friend up on the way to the cherry blossoms. You could see the trees are just like waiting for their moment.
Yes.
Starting to bud and bloom. Beautiful pictures from our time there. Is this your picture
This
or
mine?
Is mine? Nice.
So interesting this year, they had everything roped off so you couldn't really walk through.
And they had a bunch of signs up.
Yeah, walk through the trees. But I mean, I think this was the best angle, honestly, because, there's Reese. Because,
there's Russ.
And there's Russ. Look at how pretty that background is.
So nice. I mean, not a cloud in the sky.
Yeah.
It was
the History Museum.
Look how
so
many people are there.
I know. And, it's very narrow on those paths, which almost creates a little bit of a congestion issue.
Yeah, there are people like playing drums. Everybody's trying to get their beautiful picture in. So you're kind of, competing with all the people there.
Get your pick and go.
Yeah.
So we did. And so that's what,
How long were you there?
We were there maybe 20 minutes at most.
Yeah.
Johnny, you can scroll to the next one if you would. So I want you to notice one thing in particular as your two dads are sitting and taking pictures in front of the cherry blossoms. Look at Russ's hat.
Oh, yes, that's a Gladys hat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad he wore it. Did he love it?
He loves it. Okay, so look at how handsome he is, first of all. Second of all.
Italian king.
Thank you. My man is something. He's a looker. But
he's a proud dad.
He sure is. Gladys got him that hat for his birthday.
She's such a queen.
And initially the problem was that it was stolen off of our front porch.
Was that what that guy
That
took?
was it. So remember, I don't know if you remember this, the day that we were talking about how Buffalo is so safe and Buffalo is this and Buffalo is great and everything is fine. Porch pirates.
They stole Gladys's gift to Russ.
So if you see somebody else who's not Russ walking around with the Gladys hat, it's them who was the thief.
That's the porch pirate.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was only out there, I would say, for probably 20 minutes too. We walked through, we saw the food trucks, the lines were down the street, and we were like, you know what, we're just gonna go.
Yeah, it was a lot. My mom was with us, and she has knee issues and hip issues, so it was a lot of walking, and it just became
It was time to go.
Yeah.
It was time to go.
But yes, I agree, Lauren. Loved yesterday. It was so much fun. I had a great time.
Both of your crew necks are really cute. Very Buffalo branded. Did you mean to match?
I don't think so. But I got Rush that sweatshirt for Christmas, and I've had mine for a really long time. It fit me a little bit better years ago, but
it fits, please.
I guess it highlights.
It's all your muscles popping out.
Yeah, daddy.
Yeah, we were there for 20 minutes. Then I went to Mississippi Muds for the first time ever.
Yum.
And then we were going to go to the movies to see that the Haley Steinfeld movie Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend and I were like, we can't waste this day. Let's get the dog. There she is, our little Reese girl. and walked around Delaware Park. We happened to run into her roommate who was out walking already. So it was just one of those evenings, afternoons where you're like, you have to take advantage of the day.
Yeah.
So we did. And we walked around a little bit, and she was obviously thrilled to be out
Look at
there.
her little smile.
She hates taking pictures. She's so annoying. She like never looks. We had to like bait her into looking towards the camera.
With
the
what?
one good picture. We just like, look who's there. Look, who was that?
She's smiling.
And she like will turn her head.
Gladys and Reese, they're so cute.
Yeah, good girl.
Did you enjoy Mississippi Muds? Peter wants to know.
It was really, really good. I don't know how I'd never had it before, but my friend grew up on Grand Island, so like North Towns kind of girl, Niagara County or Erie County still. But then she was like, "This is where I grew up going, and you have to go." And my friend and I both had never been. He's from Long Island. I'm from Jersey, so she was like, "We're going."
It's like a staple.
You know, you go, you line up, they get the burger. It was really delicious, and it was just a beautiful day. So we had a nice little wholesome Sunday.
Right on the water, and you can't beat that kind of view, especially as the sun sets.
Never, never.
Okay, yes, I do see your comment here, Jonathan. And while we didn't want to just, jump right in, we certainly do have a lot to talk about here this morning. So, give us a little grace just to kind of ease into the day's topics.
Yeah, let's let everybody log in here before we dive right into the deep stuff here. But we'll dive in now, and we'll get you going. This was the story of the weekend, and it's really the big story of the day, our most read story on our website, wkbw.com, for obvious reasons, right? You read the headline, and you hear about what's being alleged, and you're like, wait a minute. Whoa, okay.
Right, what?
Especially if you have kids in the Buffalo Public School District, or if you grew up in the district, if you live in the area, it is just a, oh my gosh, what's going on kind of moment when you have a Buffalo police detective in the Special Victims Unit saying there are sexual assaults and, misconduct going on in these schools that is being covered up. And
not just covered up, but like evidence being tampered with, destroyed, and it's all coming from lawyers and administrators within the department. So John Marrero, our executive producer who's here with us, Johnny my boy Marrero, just posted a link to this story in the comments here. So here's the allegation itself. And it comes from a couple of different things, but one thing in particular that Detective Richard High was talking about was an attempted kidnapping that he says happened, that we know happened, or had been reported as happening at the school connected to the Buffalo Science Museum. Apparently there are doors there that connect the two buildings, and they are not locked, and that there at one point was surveillance video of this attempted kidnapping. Parents were never told about it, but the video itself, he says, was deleted. Evidence destroyed, but somebody had the wherewithal to record it and I suppose present it as evidence. Then High went on a podcast over the weekend to the detective, right, to kind of bare all. Not physically, but like he let it all out. Like he told everyone what was going on. Well, when you're investigating these kinds of things, I can only imagine, the kind of cases that he sees, the kind of things that he deals with. And what he's saying is he's had enough of not seeing these issues come to light. So he went on his friend's podcast and he kind of just put it all out there. This is what's going on. And then we talked to him too. He came to our studio. We interviewed him. He said, look, I know I might get in trouble for something like this. Really, his job possibly on the line here. And he's saying that there's a lot being covered up within the school district, and there's things that families, parents don't know that they should. Now, of course, on the other hand, you have to talk to the school district as well when we reached out to them, and they say that this is just utterly untrue, that none of this is true, and now there's going to be a school board meeting tonight, a special meeting, and they might go into executive session to kind of talk about this and handle it first thing Monday. So here are the foundational elements of all of this. High says that the Buffalo Public School District is obstructing investigations into alleged child abuse and sexual assaults among students. Kim says, I want to know what schools. We don't know. And here's the other, okay, so I have a lot of questions about what's going on here. Number one, if in fact this is true, should there be an investigation? Because look, this is all now out in the open. There is more talk, more questions. There are more questions than answers right now. So should this investigation be carried out in a public sense? That's number one. Instead of going into an executive session, where everything is hidden. You don't have access to that as a
Conversations
public.
behind closed doors.
Right.
And I think that's what the issue is here, right? We have more questions than we do facts. We would love to see the facts come out, but clearly, I mean, there's a lot of conversations that need to be had and questions that need to be answered behind the scenes. It seems like within the district and the school board before we even get those answers.
So High also says that so this is the podcast, unsubscribe. And somebody said that it looks like this was my other thing. Like,
it's Sarah's comment. She says, this podcast was weird. Those people are sitting around talking, all drunk. Did the claims lose a lot of credibility after that podcast thing?
No.
So this is what's interesting, right? We're learning this. You know, it's not coming from us directly as a news source until we start interviewing him. But the first time a lot of people are hearing about this is from a podcast. And you do see, you know, there's alcohol on the table.
They're all burping. It's like, I don't know. Like I take a little bit of issue with.
It doesn't seem like the most legitimate. I mean,
right.
It's legit. He's sitting there, right?
Right.
He is a Buffalo police detective.
You've got to trust what he's saying and take it as it's presented.
Right. But I think there is a little bit of a when you see the video and you see kind of the setting around him.
A skepticism.
But then there's questions, you know, Julie says she believes him. And a lot of people are like, well, why would he lie about this?
Right. What is he? And he has to lose his job, right? Like
that's what he has to lose.
He stands to lose his job. He's not going to, you know, as of right now. Like I didn't want that to be misconstrued as he has to, like me saying he has to lose his job. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he could possibly lose his job.
He stands to lose a lot by speaking out.
Exactly.
Not only in general, but, you know, in this way. And it just raises a lot of eyebrows when you hear what he's saying and you're like, wait a minute.
So Elizabeth says, would it be more credible if they were drinking coffee? It seems silly that we are splitting hairs over drinks. I'm just saying it was like one element to it. It just, you know, there's
just my immediate thought. It's
right.
just what you question. And you're like, wait, hold on.
I'm like, what is this? Right. Though Mark says he's been suspended so many times, I don't trust him. So yeah, he's got a history. But you know, if he's clearing his conscience here and kind of explaining what's going on and not really getting anywhere within perhaps the department or within the school district or with charges being filed, then you can understand why he's concerned. Kevin, good morning to you. Glad you're with us, Kevin, because your voice matters to us and we want to make sure that we're sharing voices on all sides of the issue. Kevin says, you clowns are drunk on wokeness. What's the difference? So I don't think that I think we're just being observers. I don't think that we're being, first of all, we're not drunk. Second of all, you know, I think that when you observe and you're just trying to process as like a person and understand like what the context is, what the surrounding is, like it's just a matter of like, okay, how am I taking this in? What am I thinking? And what's this all about? Do you know what I mean?
We're having a conversation
right.
At this point. We don't know anything for sure. We know that a police detective went on a podcast and is, you know, talking about really serious issues that he claims are happening within the Buffalo Public School District. And it's something that we need to talk about.
Shar says alcohol relieves inhibition, folks. It's truth serum. Sarah wants somebody to define wokeness. Howard says the whole thing sounds funny to me. Reminds me of the guy who said Sandy Hook was staged. Proof in the pudding, I guess. So, okay, here's my issue number 3 with all of this. Where is the police department to say something, and where is the DA's office to say something on this? Because if he's coming out and saying all of this, the union has already backed him, claiming, you know, that this shows his passion for the job. Mm-hmm. But where is the police department to either acknowledge and admit there's a problem or discredit his claims? And their silence is almost a little bit deafening at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, you would think if he was out here lying, they would be like, whoa.
Right. That's my point, right? Like they are not saying anything right now.
Right. Jeanette says you can see how emotional he is in the podcast. You can tell it's heavy on his heart. And that's what he expressed to us. Like, look, I understand I could get in trouble for this, but something needs to be said.
Elizabeth, I'm not surprised, she says. A few years ago in second grade, a male student was harassing my female second grader. I was told by the school AP that it was a he said, she said. They were 7 at the time. Nothing changed until I threatened to go to the district and the news.
Good gracious.
No response, DJ Junior Jojo Clark says, is a response. Actions speak volumes here. Kim says, my issue is they're saying Buffalo Public Schools. He should say what schools and where is the proof? So, right. I mean, like, I'm a proof guy. show me the data, show me the documents.
We're on paper.
Yeah. And then to Adam's point, anyone ignoring a subpoena should be jailed. So what he's also saying is that these Buffalo public school lawyers are not answering subpoenas from the district attorney's office for evidence, for certain claims of for documentation, for evidence, for things that should be turned over to press charges, and that is part of the cover up. So I don't know. It's interesting. And I wonder, are there any parents here? Maybe Kim, are you a parent in the Buffalo school system? Do you send your kids to school? Are you concerned for your kids' safety? What's the thought here?
And I'm so curious as to what we're going to hear next. What's going to come out of this school board meeting, these discussions? Right now, all we've heard from the school district is they are saying this is untrue. We're going to do whatever we can to show you this is untrue. And I wonder what we will see, written in black and white, concrete evidence as this continues.
So I want to point out that I did text the DA's spokesperson, Kate Monroe, who is always very cooperative.
Yeah, she's very helpful.
So I'm waiting to hear back from her to figure out what the DA's response is, because I think that it's really important, if we're putting it out there, then to hear what everyone has to say here. China says we need to definitely know what school this took place at for sure. And then Rachel says, don't just put stuff out there. Show the proof. It's a very serious issue. If you're going to talk this way, then back it up. Parents have the right to know what's going on.
It raises so many questions. You're like, wait a minute, what's happening? Where? At what school? He said there was an instance where there was a young girl who was believed to be lying about an incident. You're just like, who? Where? Which school?
So it raises credibility concerns on the school's part, which is kind of what Rachel's saying here. Well, if they're covering things up, then they would definitely deny it. But I think, again, without the proof, because I'm a proof guy, there are so many questions also.
Right.
Megan's point. It went on in the diocese for so long until it all came to a head. Now, I want to draw distinctions and parallels between this and that. One. Look, I've dealt with whistleblowers before, right? Like I've had a whistleblower come forward and say something is wrong here. I'm not getting anywhere. Can you please help? I feel like that's one avenue, because as a journalist, as a reporter, as an investigative reporter, I'm going to be like, okay, sure, I have a healthy amount of skepticism, but show me the documents when you can. I'm like, okay, let's go. Charlie Specht, when he interviewed Siobhan, who was the whistleblower in the diocese case, she handed him the documents. So, again, there is proof to be put out there from a whistleblower. And I appreciate what he's doing here in that he's saying he is coming forward to make sure parents know what's going on and to basically put the district on blast for not doing anything, in his words. And I'm what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you. But I wonder if this was the right avenue in which to make these claims and to put this story out there.
What he did was kind of open the door here. He said, look, some stuff is happening. We need to be aware of what's going on. We need to be asking more questions. And he really kind of got the ball rolling and got started here. But, what we have is an open door and so many questions and not a lot of answers.
Mary, good morning. BPS is making retaliation clear and evident in their responses. What about the superintendent leaving socials? Was that suggested by the school's legal counsel? Great question.
Another good question. That was what we saw from the superintendent, who is retiring at the end of the school year. She said she's taking a break from social media, and that was, while the district obviously sends their response. You hear that from her.
Sherry, as a BPS parent, a lot of stuff happens. I hear from my kids and hear nothing from the school.
I mean, so are your kids coming home saying, oh my gosh, this awful thing happened with my classmates, or the classmates are saying this and that, and then you're expecting to hear a statement or something or an email from the school and then you never hear it?
That's interesting. Wild. Deb says, my son was just transferred from charter school to school Buffalo school number 99. When I first walked in, I could not believe a school that only goes up to 4th grade had security scanners. It just overall feels unsafe. Just like the staff in the front office seems to be underpaid. They could care less. So I think that every school in the Buffalo School District has these scanners. So I don't think that that's an exception to the rule here. But you got to keep everyone safe. And if they didn't have that, you'd say, I'm sure, well, why aren't they there? We've heard about kids walking in with a knife. So I think that might just be a little bit of a stretch.
Kind of a different issue than what we're dealing with now. Jenny, I have friends that are teachers. This is one thing I haven't heard, but there's a lot going on. Things aren't always easy to prove, and also things that have been proven get distorted and dismissed. I think he should give specifics when he sobers up, but you know what they say about alcohol truths.
Diane, as a parent with a child in BPS, we deserve to know our children deserve better, and their safety should be number one. BPS should be speaking more on this matter.
But you have to imagine that after this meeting today, we will hear something. I think hearing from someone on camera, maybe the statements are difficult to deal with, right? When you have him, who not only we've interviewed him, and then you have his voice on a podcast, and you have a statement from Buffalo Public Schools, it's like, look, what is your response to this? Like, are we going to be able to ask them these questions and get answers directly from the district?
So Christina says destroying video footage of an attempted abduction is messed up. Rich is doing his job. Sounds like teachers, administrators are not. Jack says the media thrives off of allegations. It's a story at this point. Vendettas lurk in the background. Personal gain is also an incentive. So Jack, I just want to double down here, and maybe you can kind of help me understand what you're trying to say here. I think let me perhaps walk you through the process here, because as a journalist, as a journalism agency, as a media organization, I think that's important to kind of lift the curtain so that you understand our process here. This all started when emails were being sent to our newsroom explaining that this podcast was out there and that there are some serious allegations that were made against the school district. We saw the podcast, we listened, we watched it, we took the allegations seriously, but did not at that point think that we didn't want to just put it out there.
Right.
So we waited, and then the district on its own put a statement out there. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we said, okay, they're acknowledging this. We now need to pull the trigger, so to speak, and put this out there.
Right.
So we wanted to do our due diligence and make sure that we were able to have that larger conversation with some context. But I think that, once they responded, we had to put it out there.
Right. And no one is out here looking for allegations like, oh, what can we sensationalize or what can we tell us? No one is out here trying to thrive off of allegations. We're talking about what's going on in our community. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is a big deal. And then you see Adam's comment saying the district's response was entirely too defensive. It should have read that they're committed to transparency and conducting a comprehensive investigation, not just that it's all lies.
Kim also says, if there are issues, where are the parents? Where are the parents to come forward and say that there are issues? Debbie also says, if you're going to say something that is going to be so detrimental to clear your conscience, then you should have something to prove what you're saying is true. Mm-hmm. Rachel, the cop has nothing to gain from taking the risk, speaking out. A grown man wouldn't cry if what he's seen isn't real. Parents deserve transparency. Kids deserve to be protected. Yeah, we're doing our job. I mean, he's doing his job too. And the thing about, so here's the other part about Buffalo. And, this is under the Byron Brown administration that has also now spilled over, for lack of a better term, into the Scanlon administration. Mm-hmm. Buffalo's departments are not allowed to speak with the media without first getting clearance from the mayor's office. So what do I mean by that? So under the Byron Brown administration, there was a guy whose name is Mike DeGeorge. Mike DeGeorge had a lock on the entire city.
If we needed any information about a fire, about a criminal case, if we needed numbers about, where they're plowing snow on the streets or when potholes are getting fixed, all of those questions had to go through one person.
They were all funneled. So you've basically got a conflict of interest in that one person is speaking on behalf of the city for the police, the fire, and the mayor's office. One person. That same thing has kind of spilled over into the Scanlon administration. So, when you see somebody stepping out of line and kind of circumventing the system, it speaks volumes.
Right.
But also raises some questions. And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So Sherry says he has the proof, the copy of the video surveillance. Mm-hmm. So, do Buffalo police then put that video out there? If they have the video, have they found the man? Do they, or the person?
Right. What's the deal with that case? Is that being investigated?
Right. Peter says, and you said earlier there are more questions on this allegation, so more to come. Absolutely. And there are so many more questions to be answered throughout the day. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of accountability here within the administration, within the school district's administration, and with this special meeting, there's more to come there too. Jillian says you can't ask where are the parents if the parents aren't notified.
Point.
Dory says a teacher was charged for accidentally giving THC gummies to kids. Meanwhile, these teachers aren't being faced with any consequences. Terrible. Melly says so much happened behind those closed doors. It's sickening. So I just want to kind of go back to Jillian's comment here. You can't ask where the parents are if the parents aren't notified. So would your child come to you and say, "Hey, mom, this happened to me at school today"? And perhaps unless it was your child, obviously you wouldn't know about it. But you want your school district as a whole to be safe.
It's touchy stuff. When we're talking about our kids and we're talking about their safety, going to school every day. Obviously, you just want them to be able to go there to learn. And when we have all these conversations, Sheila's right. We don't want to start a panic. We don't want to just throw all this information out there and say, hey, these things are happening in Buffalo Public Schools, if we don't know 100% for sure. But then the district comes out and says, hey, none of these things are true. They're responding to all of this. So then, here we are having this conversation, and I'm glad we are talking about it. I'm glad
important.
We're, hearing from parents, hearing from community members about, where do we all stand on all this? And where's your mind when you think of this story?
But the panic is the last thing that we want to create, to your point. And, that's why I'm saying, if he's circumventing the system and he's coming out as a whistleblower and saying all of these things, then I question if that was the right platform to do it, or if it creates more panic than it does help.
Look at this comment from Lexi. My daughter was physically assaulted her first 2 weeks of school at school number 69, and it took them 2 months to investigate. First, they accused her brothers, then asked if she could be lying. When I told them no and no, then they investigated more, gave me the runaround for 2 months until finally said it was a kid who had been expelled for behavioral issues, so there was nothing they could do. Never let me see the video, but tried to tell me my 6-year-old at the time was laughing.
You kind of get cut off.
Yeah, I think I got cut off a little bit there. But oh my God, thank you for sharing that, first of all.
Yeah.
Thank you for being willing to share that. But, just reading that out loud, and that, they asked, was it her brothers? And the investigation took so long, and you still weren't able to see any video about what happened. I mean, how do you recover from that? How does your child recover from that?
So I wonder, Lexi, are you willing to speak with us? Are you willing to have your story told? Would you be willing to speak with a reporter? Because, if there's one, there's smoke, there's fire sometimes.
There was another comment from a woman named Beth. I believe she put a picture in there. We can't see that from here, but she says, this picture is from my daughter's assault on Wednesday. Buffalo Public and First Student have been horrible. We deserve answers and justice for our babies. Please go to my page, share the 2 posts. We need to spread awareness. This isn't fair. I mean, I would imagine we have a lot of parents, right here watching and sharing their voices right now.
Caitlin doing the same thing. If you feel comfortable sharing your story, Lexi, and we certainly hope you do and would be willing to speak with a reporter, you can send me a text message. John will put my phone number up on the screen. It's 716-713-3514. By all means, please text me, give me a call, whatever you want to do.
It just makes you uncomfortable, right? You can also email us at news@wkbw.com. It's unsettling to think that there might be situations that we haven't heard of, that we don't know about, happening within the school district. And again, the district has sent out a statement. They've said that they're going to get to the bottom of this, that none of these allegations by Detective High are true, that they're untrue. So it just leaves us in this spot where we're like, okay, we're hearing all these stories, right? We have parents coming to us firsthand saying these things are happening and that they don't feel comfortable with how they've been handled. Caitlin says School 69 does nothing about bullying. So what do we do? I mean, what does the district do? How do we fix this?
Frankly, I think it all transpires. It all takes place in the public view. I don't think that
It can't happen
executive
behind closed doors.
session is going to be the right way to go about this. And I think that if parents go to this special meeting today and they go into executive session, it just raises more questions. But time will tell, and we'll see what happens. But thank you for being part of this conversation. We certainly appreciate you, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.